Welcome. Whoa. Yeah. Welcome to Countdown to Infinity. I think it started. Yeah, I see the button. I see the ticking. Welcome to Countdown to Infinity, a Marvel's Avengers podcast. We talk all things MCU, including the movies. And I feel like actually this week there was an MCU movie in theaters, technically, which we might talk about later. Spider-Man No Way Home with a couple extra mins in there. But we're specifically talking about the Disney Plus show She-Hulk. We've been going episode by episode. By now, we are on episode 3, The People versus Emil, Blonsky. Before I introduce our host, I know we're a day behind, but it was Labor Day. We were co-host or guest host, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. It's you, Brent. Are you like looking for a third person on the feed behind you?
Am I a host? I guess so.
It's Jimmy Fallon.
No.
We're celebrating Labor Day, and Sophia's dealing with some health stuff, so that's why it's a little bit late. But I would say filling in, just like a certain celebrity on this episode, ready to shake things up, literally.
Yeah.
Is Brent. Brent, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's always fun to hop on every now and then and talk new Marvel stuff with you.
And this is, I guess, before we dive into this episode specifically, and a lot of, Brent, you are a world-renowned lawyer, so I can't wait to hear about your thoughts on the case. But what do you think about She-Hulk, the show so far, and Tatiana Maslany, and just kind of the different tone of the show? I assume you've watched the other 2 episodes. I hope you're not coming in just raw.
I have 3. Not. I haven't seen the other episodes yet. No, aren't there 3, or is this the 3rd?
This is the 3rd.
Oh, this is the 3rd. Okay. I'm enjoying it. I think it is cool to do a kind of more out and out comedy. I think, my only issue, with the show so far really is just kind of the execution of She-Hulk. I'm still warming up to it. When I look past that, everything else I really enjoy. Tatiana Maslany is her name, right? I've always liked her since like Orphan Black, and she was like maybe the best part about that Perry Mason show, which she was really great on. I think she's just really charming, really funny as Walters, Jennifer Walters / She-Hulk. That's her name, right? Jennifer Walters.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it so far. I think the cast is great. I like Pug. Her friend is funny. Seeing Tim Roth back is a lot of fun. Seeing him kind of have fun with that character again. I'm kind of, it's I don't know. It's very, we were just talking about some of the ways that the show is, similar, the same to other Marvel shows, but I think in a lot of ways too, it is very different in that it really is kind of like a lawyer show, and is a little lower stakes, which I do really appreciate as well, about the show. And I'm curious to see kind of like she even gets meta with it this week. Like, we're not going to have like a cameo every week. They kind of have every week, so it's kind of funny. But no, I'm enjoying it quite a bit so far.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I do appreciate the lower stakes. I feel like we've been promised lower stakes in a lot of these shows, and then it just slowly becomes a giant thing. Like Moon Knight, lower stakes, and then we end up with giant Khonshu fighting, it gets really big. Yeah. Same with Miss Marvel. It's in New Jersey, and then suddenly it is there's a lot of time travel, and then like the galaxy or the dimensions are opening. And it gets to that point at some, and I feel like that might still happen in She-Hulk, but so far it hasn't, and we're kind of in this kind of the lighter side of the MCU, especially when we revisit characters we know already, like in this episode with Wong and with Emil Blonsky, who is a totally different person than the Abomination in prison. I think that's like a great tone. And she's very aware when she breaks the fourth wall. She talks about the A story and the B story in this episode. So I think, it's a really interesting show so far. But I think so. This episode features a lot of the actual. It's not even really even a trial. It's just a parole hearing for Abomination. And this is after the reveal that his cameo in Shang-Chi is posted online. He's fighting Wong. And he escapes basically, but returns. So a lot of it's in around that parole hearing. And then we've got another story when it comes to a shape shifting. Well, this is the Meg the Stallion storyline is what this is.
With
truly.
Kind of lawyer that Jennifer Walters worked with, who's like a real entourage cast member. I'll just say a real kind of D-bag.
Dennis. Dennis is being represented by the law firm that Jen works with, by Pug, who is another lawyer that works there. And it is an Asgardian light elf named Runa has conned him by pretending to be Megan the Stallion. I guess not even pretending, just using her powers to become Meg the Stallion. And cons him out of $175,000. And I would say there's even like a C storyline here when it comes to just the world's reaction to She-Hulk being a lawyer and being a superhero. But Brent, what did you think about this episode? There's a lot that kind of happens in such a short amount of time.
I liked it. It kind of keeps that kind of like more comedic. And it's funny because like if I were to define pretty much all of the Marvel movies except for like Infinity War and Endgame, they're all now basically action comedies. Like I would put them into that category. But I do like that this show is like, for the most part, not even really an action show. Like she has her little fight scene where she kind of beats up some thugs who, by the way, that's definitely, they're working for somebody. And I'm curious to see kind of like if they're working for, what's that? She's the actress from The Good Place.
Jamila Jamil, who is playing Titania, I believe.
Yeah, her introduction was kind of weird, but they kind of introduce her real quick, and she gets like thrown in jail or beat up or something.
Honestly, we haven't seen her, and she's credited as like one of the main cast. So soon
she's in the first episode at the end, but like real quickly. No, this one's fun. Like again, it kind of has that just like more comedic, almost silly tone, especially with like Pug's trial with that guy Dennis. And, the Asgardian shape-shifting into the judge. And it's like really almost like silly comedy, but I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. Like this kind of Marvel thing is fun to like jump into every week. And it's just kind of like a quick, fun, like MCU snack, I think. Although She-Hulk herself kind of a big MCU snack, if you know what I'm talking about.
Green. But, you got to eat your greens. That's what the doctor says.
You got to eat your greens. Kind of big green hottie. And then seeing Wong, I'm sorry. Them tying that into the timeline of the MCU with like, that scene in Shang-Chi, that's gonna, fuck up his whole life for a little bit because he didn't even
parole.
His parole, he was actually in prison. Pretty fun episode. We don't have to talk about people's reactions to Megan the Stallion and stuff like that. I thought that was kind of a fun little cameo that really underlines like the kind of like more kind of like loose, fun, kind of silly vibe of the show is doing stuff like that kind of post-credits stinger. I think it's a lot of fun so far, and I like that it really is like a lawyer show, and if they kind of continue that pattern of like every week being like kind of a new case or two of some kind of like superhero or super villain being on trial for X, I think that is a really fun thing. Like that's clearly what the little I know about the She-Hulk comic is that they, the best issues were kind of like things like that, where they were able to have fun with the characters in the comics and the storylines. And do fun things with their trials and things like that. Obviously, being like Daredevil being my favorite Marvel character, one of my favorite MCU characters. I can't wait to see how that is brought in, since that's kind of already come out that's happening. So I keep waiting for that too. But overall, another fun episode, I think.
Yeah, I think it's also, I think when we were talking earlier about what the show is, it is a very light comedy. This had multiple threads happening throughout the episode. But there is still something that connects them all. I think partially Jennifer being new to the She-Hulk role, that's kind of happening. She's still getting used to that. Now I think with those thugs at the very end, we're kind of seeing that maybe this is all leading towards something. It's funny too that she is kind of responding to the way the world is reacting to her. Now, this is kind of another fourth wall break for the show, but those are real comments from when She-Hulk was announced that they played. So those aren't fake internet comments. Those are 100% real. I guess you would call them fans that are in the show. A lot of cool stuff like that. They also, I think, Jessica Gao revealed that when they originally wrote this episode, they left open the role of Meg the Stallion. They didn't know who that was going to be. They just knew it was going to be a celebrity. And some consultation afterwards with Jamil and Tati Maslany, they reached out to Meg the Stallion, who agreed to be in the show. And in fact, the stinger that is online right now that everyone's watching with her twerking with Meg, that was only because there are no scenes with Tatiana and Meg the Stallion together, and they really wanted just to, have a reason to meet. And so that's kind of what that stinger is. And I think that's really fun too. But yeah, it's kind of, it isn't necessarily like a Law and Order procedure. We get a lot of cases so far, but it's not like it is. I mean, we'll have to wait until the next episode. There are some things connecting all three so far. So it is a very interesting, I guess, formula of storytelling, but I think it's a really fun show. I think the kind of the self-aware stuff that Tatiana does is really good. We talked about when she talks about cameos and whatnot, but I think all of that is really funny and effective. And there's still a lot too if you're just into the lore stuff. But it is kind of fantastical. I mean, Emil has what did he call them? Like a coven of women who are going to financially support him. Which was really funny.
Like
I forgot
seven soulmates. And they're all there. Yeah, it's very like when the episodes kind of or I should say like Jessica Gao being the head writer, when that stuff like rears its head, I always get a real kick out of it, because like she was like a writer on Rick and Morty for the longest time. She has a podcast that she did with Dan Harmon. They hosted together. That I wish I remembered the name of it. It's really good. But she talks a lot about like her experiences, like in writers' rooms and stuff like that, and like being a woman in writers' rooms and stuff like that. And it's like it's cool to see that stuff like really kind of rear its head in this show. Having that type of commentary show up is really cool. And she's, I think, a very self-aware, very funny writer. So that's cool to see pop up.
I got the name of the podcast. I am not going to say it on air because I don't know if it's supposed to be a joke about like pronunciation. I'll send it to you later. But
I know what it is. I won't say it, but yeah,
okay.
It's all about. I mean, it's all about like race in TV, movies, and writing, and like a lot of it is like her, not yelling at Dan Harmon, but her being like, "Why don't you understand? Like, this is how it is," and like, they have like some really great conversations about that stuff. But yeah, I just remember the name too. I won't say it.
I want to ask you. Well, let's talk a little bit about Wong. Wong is really interesting. Obviously, Wong doesn't have to do anything for anyone. He's the sorcerer supreme, but he is also Emil's alibi. But I mean, the funny part of this is he really can just come in and out whenever he wants, and this seems such like a tedious task for him. I want to ask you what you thought about Wong in this eps. We also, this is an Easter egg. If you look at his LinkedIn profile, you learn that, apart from being the master sorcerer, he worked at Target on his profile, which I think is just another fun joke. If you pause
that
it,
he keeps that on there. Like he rises to the rank of Sorcerer Supreme, but he's like, I was also a supervisor at like the at the San Diego.
Carmitage.
Carmitage.
Yeah, I think it's Target like associate or partner, then it's librarian at Carmitage, and then it's Sorcerer Supreme. But he's only got 3 credits to his name. But what do you think about Wong in this episode? Kind of play into the humor that he likes to add in the Doctor Strange movies sometimes.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun addition. I think there was some tension where like when he's like not showing up at Blonsky's trial, I was like, oh shit, that's going to be the drama that unfolds, is like he's not going to show up because Doctor Strange 2 is happening. And then like, because in the timeline in my head, that was like, I'm so confused about the timeline. I guess it's like Shang-Chi.
Yeah, me too. I am too.
I don't know.
And then we suddenly learn that Hulk is going somewhere. In the last episode.
He's going
so there's a lot happening.
Fucking outer space, which is setting up something. That's right. Taking another trip to outer space, I guess. But no, he's a lot of fun. It's clearly one of those things where like I think it was a real easy kind of thing for him to kind of show up for, because it was very much like a portal popped in behind him. That's me being cynical, and then he comes out in like his robe and like stands and says some lines, but it's still like a fun addition. I like Benedict Wong a lot. And,
really connecting every movie and show right now. Benedict Wong popping in.
He is. Yeah. You gotta have Wong pop in and just kind of tie the threads together for people. But he was great. Trying to think like what else he did other than, I guess he was just at that trial. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, there are 2 things happening to Jennifer's credit. She tells us it's story A, story B. But let's talk a little bit about speculation. So we saw these thugs. They have Asgardian construction equipment, and they are trying to steal her blood. And they even, it's pretty obvious they can't get the syringe in because she's invincible almost. I mean, I guess you kind of already talked about who you thought was behind it, Titania, Jamila Jamil's character. But I also did notice, and I saw this online, that they did have the a certain letter on them. I think it was the letter W on some of their shirts. And there's a team called the Wrecking Crew. I mean, I feel like there's also the specter that is Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine, played by Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Is she going to be on the show?
The Thunderbolts movie? I don't know. Like, no one knows.
Oh, okay.
But it's interesting. I don't know who. I mean, I guess Kingpin could be in the West Coast now. There's a lot of possibilities here.
I think, I think it's going to be probably Jamila Jamil's character. You said Titania is her name?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, too, because I also wonder, I could be totally wrong with this, but I think the Wrecking Crew is like a Daredevil or Defenders, which has Daredevil in it, and some of the Netflix heroes. Like group of villains. So like it could also be something like that. Like that's how they get roped into it. Or they were all of the above, So I'm not really sure, but they clearly want her blood to, I guess, make a army of more Super Hulk people, I guess. Curious to see where that leads.
What do you think about I guess part of this is her and her team of lawyers that she's a part of. They're growing closer each case. And I think they're helping her navigate the new, I guess, impact that having a She-Hulk has. But I mean, what are what are the things that are like really working for you in this show? Because normally in like the ensemble piece works great in a lot of comedies. I feel like we're getting the sense that even the superheroes, like Emil Blonsky in a really big way, Wong as well. Like I feel like they are playing to their comedic elements, kind of over the top. We even the Asgardian kind of night elf is similar. She's kind of like a jester running around, impersonating
she's
people.
Real goofy. That's a real goofy.
I don't think there's a super serious character so far.
Not really. Everything. I mean, and that really to me underlines how it's like, unlike the kind of like action with comedy of MCU stuff, this is definitely like comedy with action. And I feel like, maybe not to get into fandom stuff, but I feel like some fans are like a little prickly about that kind of like that shift a little bit with this show, where it like is a little more like out and out comedic and a little silly. But that's the stuff I think I like the most. Honestly, I do like the tone of it. I think Tatiana Maslany is killing it. It kind of just bums me out that I really don't buy the look of the She-Hulk. Like I wish that that kind of execution on the kind of her look was better, because like all of her dialogue, everything about it I think is great. And the look when like paused is good. I think it comes down to like the animation of it. Maybe to get too granular about it, but it's that, like,
And we talk a lot about the uncanny valley with a lot of these types of stuff when you have a full CGI character. We're about to see another thing called Pinocchio soon, and we'll see how we feel about that, because Disney likes to do that a lot. But yeah, I also think that, it's very heavily influenced by the comic books, where she is an attorney. But unless you're familiar with that, you could be watching this and feel like you're being, undercut Hulk stuff. I mean, you're right. She does beat up those people at the end, but you may be like, why is she even the Hulk as a lawyer? Why can't she just, be Tatiana and then do something crazy? But she is the staple for superheroes in the comic books, and in a way I think they're also showing us somewhat of a connection between being a woman, the experience of that, and being kind of at the forefront of maybe some even as granular as legal cases, and then also just being in the conversation with the reaction that the real reactions are kind of featuring. So I think in that level it's pretty clever, and we'll see where it goes. Jamila Jamil's character is heavily influenced by social media. So that I think is going to be, I don't know if that's going to be super on the nose, but I feel like that's something we haven't even really finished, a theme that we haven't really finished talking about yet for the show. But yeah, it's definitely dissecting that, and the internet loves it. Of course, they're taking to it well. Brent, what are you looking forward to in the next episode? We're not even halfway through here. There are 9 episodes.
9
of the show.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm excited to see what other cases are kind of like brought up and presented on the show, and utilized as like arcs, and what characters, not even cameos, but just like other, because that to me is like the fun of the MCU. Like the interesting stuff is like taking interesting angles on like, what is this like in this crazy world that we all know and love and have been following for like 14 years now? Like what is this specific weird or like funny angle that we can kind of look at? So seeing more stuff like that, obviously seeing Daredevil, I assume it's not going to be a huge thing, but I'd love to be wrong about that. I'd love to, he's a lawyer too, so it would make sense if like he shows up for like a 2-3 episode arc or something like that, that will then spin off into his Disney Plus thing that was confirmed. Those are the 2 big ones. Also seeing kind of like the big mystery that they're kind of only really setting up now. So far there hasn't really been a lot of groundwork for that, which to the benefit of the show, I think, like to focus more on her and like, her navigating the workplace and being a woman superhero, like seeing all that stuff is really cool and interesting too. So just more of what they're doing, really.
I'm kind of impressed. This show is tackling really big themes, and this may be a spoiler. I don't think so. I think this is well known, but there's a character in this that we haven't even met yet, who is kind of a love interest, who is a billionaire, but this is what the producer said. represents a social commentary on misogyny, cancel culture, and the unfair views of women. And we haven't even met that character yet. So
Oh my God.
I appreciate that they're not pulling punches, and neither did the comic books about who She-Hulk is. We'll, of course, we can't wait to see what's trending on Twitter after these episodes. But that'll be interesting to see too, because I feel like, and you know what, another small thing that I'm looking forward to is we got a little bit of this. I think maybe in episode 2, her family. I thought that was really good and funny, and especially her cousin, who is like a manager, I think now. You know, the one everyone loves. I thought that was really fun. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that. It was my favorite part of Miss Marvel. And here's another show where we can potentially not have something super devastating and sad as a home life, because she's got all the support she needs. Hopefully.
It's more mundane and realistic than like sad and tragic, like a lot of the Marvel stuff. So
that's not her origin story. Yeah. Well, Brent, thanks for being on the pod. What do you have to plug?
Oh man, really just all the Delphin Pod Patreon stuff. You and I are, always recording new fun things. We're
about to take a trip down to Middle Earth, and I don't know any of, Brent, off the top of your head, do you know any of the, I guess, lands in Middle Earth for the Lord of the Rings
Not
show?
as their new names, man, because they in the Second Age they're called different things. So I can't even even the Mines of Moria go by some like dwarven title that I can't even say off the top of my head. So
what age is this? The Second Age?
The Second Age.
How do I? Yeah. Okay, all right. I'm gonna pull it up and whatever for later.
Oh boy. Uh-oh. Good luck tackling that.
I know. I'm gonna tattoo it on my hand.
Yeah, tattoo the entire Silmarillion on your body.
Yeah,
just so that you
wait. Watching the show with my shirt off. Yeah, it'd be like, look at this. I'm Memento. I'm nerd Memento.
But that's it. Yeah, a lot of good stuff on there. So go check it out.
Sweet. Yeah, continue to listen to the pod. Again, I apologize that it's a little late. We will be back next week on time to talk a little bit more She-Hulk. And then, of course, I haven't caught it, but I will try to watch the extra Spider-Man thing, the re-release with the extra minutes. I hear there's some pretty devastating stuff in it, like for when I'm talking about the ending of that movie. But we'll look forward to that. Go to Patreon, follow us on social media. Thanks so much, Brent, for being on the pod.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll see you in court, huh? See us in court. All right. Bye, everyone.